The twin suns of Epsilon Prime rose slowly over the horizon, casting pale light over the small human colony. At first it seemed like any other morning. The air was calm, the automated factories humming in rhythm, and colony residents going about their routine tasks. But peace, as it often did in the frontier, was about to shatter. A sudden warning alarm pierced the stillness. Red lights flashed across the colony's control center, and the deep vibrating tone of the intruder alert made everyone freeze. Lieutenant Marcus Hale, monitoring the perimeter sensors, shouted, "They're here! Multiple unidentified ships entering orbit at high speed." Colonel Elena Voss, the colony commander, rushed to the tactical display. Her heart sank. On the screen, massive black warships loomed over the colony, casting long shadows that swallowed the twin suns' light. These were not any known Concord ships, they were Morale warships, infamous across the galaxy for merciless attacks. Status. Voss barked to her team. Lieutenant Hale's hands shook as he keyed in the data. 6 destroyers and a dozen support vessels, ma'am. They've bypassed our orbital defenses. Ground assault in sectors 2 and 3 has already begun. The sound of distant explosions echoed through the control center. Dust fell from the ceiling panels. Panic threatened to take hold, but Voss steadied herself. Activate emergency protocols. Evacuate civilians to underground shelters. Everyone focus on survival and defense. Even with rehearsals and drills, nothing had prepared them for this. The Morale were known not for negotiation but eradication. They did not occupy worlds. They destroyed them, leaving nothing but ruins. Voss turned to the communications officer, Lara Kim, her voice low but urgent. "Planetary comms? Are we able to send a message?" Lara's fingers danced across her console. "The Morale ships are jamming all outgoing signals. We can't contact the Galactic Concord. Even the fastest dispatches will take days to reach help." Voss clenched her fists. Help would not come in time. She took a deep breath and turned to the last option, a quantum distress beacon. "This is our only hope," she said. The room went silent. The beacon was forbidden by Concord regulations except in extreme emergencies. It could send a signal instantly across light years, but it would reveal the colony's exact location to the enemy. Lieutenant Hale hesitated. "If we activate it, ma'am, we become their first target," Voss finished for him. Her voice was calm but firm. "I know. Begin evacuation of all non-essential personnel immediately." Outside, the colony burned. Explosions ripped through residential areas, and the orange glow of fire lit up the forests surrounding the settlements. Morale dropships touched down, disgorging troops that advanced with mechanical precision. "Ships changing positions," Tactical Officer Ravi Singh reported. "They're beginning systematic bombardment." Voss looked around at the faces of her team, people she had worked with for years, building this frontier colony into a home now facing total destruction. Yet she did not falter. "Activate the beacon," she ordered. Technicians worked quickly. The hum of charging energy filled the control room. Lara Kim inputted the final coordinates and parameters. "Message ready, including all colony data, troop counts, and survival info. And send it through Sector 8197, Hale added. "It's human territory. Even if they can't help, the signal reaches them first." Voss nodded. Humans were newcomers in the Galactic Concord. Admitted just 3 years prior, their technology was minimal, their colonies few. Yet by protocol they must be notified. The beacon reached full power. A piercing hum resonated, vibrating through the walls. "Beacon ready," Lara reported. Another distant explosion shook the control center. The lights flickered. "Do it," Voss commanded. Lara pressed the activation key. The room was filled with a blinding flash as energy surged outward. Sensors went haywire for a moment before returning to emergency levels. "Signal sent," Lara confirmed. The Morale had already begun targeting the colony. The east wing of the control center took a direct hit, throwing Voss to the floor. Dust and smoke filled the air, but she rose immediately. All remaining personnel moved to fallback positions. "Begin data purge. Protect our research and population data." As her team scrambled, Voss cast one last glance at the tactical display. Dozens of Morale destroyers loomed over the colony, their weapon systems charging. Their intent clear, but somewhere in the void of space, beyond the sensors and the noise of battle, the quantum beacon sped across the galaxy, faster than any conventional fleet could pursue. A simple, silent pulse carrying a single message. Help. Humanity calls. And as the Morale began their systematic destruction, none of the colony could know one thing. Someone, or something, was already on the way. The first part of the distress call had been made. The future of Epsilon Prime rested not on the humans in the colony, but on who would answer the call. The Galactic Concord High Council chamber was filled to capacity, a rare sight even for critical sessions. Every seat was occupied, with representatives of hundreds of species watching the displays in tense silence. The images streaming in were horrifying. Firestorms consuming Epsilon Prime, explosions rocking the colonies, and Morale ships moving with lethal precision. Admiral Tankar of the Concord military stood at the center, gesturing at the holographic projection of the Morale fleet surrounding the planet. His gray, scaled skin reflected the flashing red emergency lights. The Morale force consists of 18 capital ships and 30 support vessels, he said in the formal click and whistle of his species, translated instantly by the chamber's universal translator. Our fastest response fleet is still 4 days away. By the time it reaches Epsilon Prime, the colony will be destroyed. A ripple of murmurs spread across the chamber. 4 days. Enough time for the Morale to obliterate the world. Can we not send a faster ship? Demanded Representative Kalsa, her golden-feathered crest rising in agitation. Surely there is something capable of arriving sooner. Admiral Tan shook his head. We have scout vessels capable of rapid travel, but they carry no weapons capable of challenging Morale destroyers. Any attempt would be suicide. A voice from the highest tier, ancient and sharp, interrupted. Representative Zal of the Folian species leaned forward. His wrinkled face and hooded robes made him appear centuries older than he was. The distress signal passed through Sector 8197, he said slowly, pausing for effect. Human territory. The chamber fell silent. Human space? Nervous laughter broke out among some of the younger representatives. Humans had only recently joined the Concord. Their colonies were primitive. Their ships were small and slow. They could barely defend their own systems, let alone respond to a full-scale Morale assault. Representative Julia Anderson, the human delegate, remained calm. Her dark hair and pale uniform contrasted with the flamboyant robes and scales of the other representatives. They should know, she said quietly, almost to herself. They deserve to know we are aware. Chancellor Vex's translucent tentacles rippled as he leaned forward. Representative Anderson, the humans have no military presence outside your immediate territory. You are barely a factor in this situation. Anderson's eyes scanned the chamber. Perhaps, but even a small spark can light a fire. We must be informed and ready to act. At that moment, sensors on the Concord warships flickered. An officer called out, voice tense. Admiral Tan, unusual energy signatures detected. Coming from Sector 8197. Approaching the Morale fleet at impossible speeds. The chamber erupted in whispers. Impossible speeds? No Concord vessel could move like that. Yet the readings were clear. Something was coming, something fast. Admiral Tan's antennae twitched in alarm. Prepare a full alert. Track the trajectory. Notify all fleet commanders. Back in orbit over Epsilon Prime, the Morale flagship Merciless Harvest was alive with activity. Admiral Gorell paced in his command room, scales glinting under the harsh lights. Energy readings from Sector 8197? He barked. Confirmed, Admiral, the sensor officer replied. Multiple unidentified objects moving faster than any vessel in our database. They are entering the system now. Gorell froze. Impossible. That sector is empty. No species there has developed technology even close to these speeds. Sir, sensors confirm. These are human ships. The word echoed in the command room like a thunderclap. Human, mere humans. Their intelligence reports had consistently underestimated humanity's capabilities. And now their fleet was arriving faster than any Morale could anticipate. On the bridge of the first human ship, Captain Alan Brooks surveyed the Morale fleet through the reinforced viewport. The humans had arrived within hours of the distress signal, their ship sleek, black, and angular, moving with precision that defied physics. No one in the galaxy could predict human tactics this well, not even the Morale. Status report, Brooks said calmly. Status report, Brooks said calmly. Lieutenant Sharon Jones checked her displays. Morale destroyers fully engaged? They are recalculating attack vectors, but our shields remain stable. No casualties on our side. Brooks nodded. Prepare to intercept. Prioritize civilian protection. Disable, don't destroy unless absolutely necessary. We are here to help, not conquer. In the council chamber, the representatives watched, stunned, as long-range sensors captured the first human strike. One by one, the Morale ship's engines failed, shields flickering, weapons offline. The humans moved in synchronized patterns, each vessel predicting the Morale maneuvers before they could act. What? How? Whispered Admiral Tan. This is beyond comprehension. Anderson stood quietly, observing the unfolding chaos with measured calm. She had seen enough to know the humans were exceptional, but now every species watching realized the truth. Earth's people were no ordinary newcomers. The Morale flagship's bridge was chaos. Admiral Gorell roared orders, but his fleet faltered. Human ships appeared out of nowhere, firing with unerring precision. Shields, propulsion, and weapon systems of the Morale were being neutralized systematically, not destroyed. The humans were deliberate, disciplined, and terrifyingly efficient. Gorell's mind raced. Impossible. They cannot. They should not. But even as he shouted, the evidence of humanity's hidden strength unfolded before him. On the planet's surface, Colonel Voss watched from the control center as the situation transformed. The distress signal had reached the right ears, and the response was arriving faster and stronger than anyone had dared hope. The first wave of humans in advanced suits touched down, moving with incredible speed and precision. Their weapons were set to disable, their actions calculated yet humane. For the first time since the attack began, Voss dared to believe. The distress call had worked. But the galaxy was about to learn that humanity's response would terrify not because of sheer power alone, but because humans chose justice over destruction. The void of space around Epsilon Prime shimmered with the energy, signatures of the incoming human fleet. The Morale were ready, or so they thought. Their capital ships formed tight defensive formations, weapons bristling, engines humming with deadly intent. Yet the humans moved like shadows, silent, swift, unpredictable. Captain Alan Brooks stood on the bridge of USS Resolute, his eyes scanning the readouts. Every Morale ship's movement was anticipated, each trajectory calculated. Maintain formation, he ordered calmly. Do not fire unless necessary. Disable, do not destroy. Lieutenant Sharon Jones's hands moved over the console with lightning speed. Enemy destroyers closing in. They are targeting our flank. Estimated collision in 90 seconds. Brooks' jaw tightened. Evasive maneuvers Delta 7. Engage cloaking arrays. The human ships twisted and shifted, moving through the Morale assault like water around rocks. Energy beams lanced out, striking the humans' shields, but every hit was absorbed, dissipated, or redirected. The Morale fired relentlessly, yet they could not land a decisive blow. On board the Morale flagship, Merciless Harvest, Admiral Guerrell's scales bristled in panic. His sensors were failing. Targeting systems. Offline, shields. Dropping. How is this possible? A young Morale officer stammered. Sir, they are reading our maneuvers. Predicting. Everything. Guerrell's roar filled the bridge, a sound of pure terror. Impossible. Humans cannot. Meanwhile, the human boarding squads prepared for deployment. Advanced suits allowed them to move across vacuum, magnetic grapples anchoring them to hulls of enemy ships. Each human moved with lethal grace, disabling control panels, severing power lines, and hacking the Morale systems. No unnecessary killing. Precision, discipline, control. Lieutenant Jones reported, multiple Morale capital ships neutralized. Engines offline, weapons disarmed. Civilian sectors unharmed. Captain Brooks nodded. Good, continue the sweep. Evacuate civilians first. Engage only hostile combatants if necessary. Below, on Epsilon Prime, colony administrators watched the situation unfold through live feeds. Panic had gripped them hours before, but now hope surged. Humanity had arrived, and their skill was unmatched. A Morale fighter pilot trapped in his cockpit screamed as his systems failed. The controls were unresponsive, weapons locked, engines shut down. Outside, human boarding squads were already moving in to secure the ship. He looked out at the approaching human vessel, its hull sleek, angular, and moving with impossible speed. Fear gripped him. Humans were not just soldiers, they were predators. Admiral Gorell's fury boiled. Focus fire. Destroy them! I will not allow humans to survive. But even as his order echoed, human ships anticipated every attack, dodging, intercepting, and disabling without fail. The Morale fleet, vast as it was, began to collapse systematically. One by one, their destroyers were rendered useless, their capital ships immobilized. On the human flagship, Brooks observed the Morale flagship with unblinking eyes. Gurrell's flagship is next. Prepare the boarding team. Precision strike, disable their command, leave the ship intact if possible. Sharon Jones tapped her console. Coordinates locked. Boarding team ready. Cloaking field engaged. As the humans approached the merciless harvest, alarms blared across its bridge. Gurrell's panic deepened as intruders breached the hull without resistance. The Morale could not comprehend the speed, precision, and coordination. "Admiral," a junior officer shouted. They are already inside." Gurrell could only watch as humans in sleek black suits appeared on his bridge. They moved like shadows, their weapons glowing softly, disarming systems with precise energy pulses. Every Morale officer froze. Some fled, most surrendered. None dared resist. Captain Brooks stepped forward, voice calm but commanding. "Admiral Gurrell, your fleet is neutralized. Epsilon Prime will not be harmed. Cease all aggression immediately. You have a choice. Surrender and evacuate your civilians or face complete obliteration." Gurrell's scales shimmered with anger and fear. He could not believe what he was witnessing. These were mere humans, yet they had done what no other species could even attempt: defeat an entire Morale fleet in hours. Back in the conquered council chamber, monitors displayed the human assault. Murmurs rose to shouts. "Impossible. Humans. They are not like us. How can one species be this strong?" Representative Anderson stood, calm amidst the chaos. "This is why they must be respected. They act not out of conquest but duty. Their power is unmatched because they choose precision over chaos, discipline over destruction." On Epsilon Prime, colonists emerged from shelters, staring at the human ships in awe. Smoke still rose from a few damaged structures, but no lives had been lost. Humanity had arrived not as conquerors but as saviors. Admiral Gurrell, defeated and humiliated, could do nothing but surrender. Human forces secured the remaining Morale ships, freeing captured colonies and civilians. The first act of human intervention had begun, and the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. As Captain Brooks looked at the aftermath from orbit, he allowed himself a brief moment of relief. The distress call had been answered. Humanity had proven itself, but the true challenge, he knew, was just beginning. The galaxy had seen the spark, and now the fire was coming. The news of humanity's intervention spread through the galactic conquered like wildfire. In every corner of the council chambers, delegates whispered, pointed at screens, and exchanged shocked glances. Ships had been reported destroyed, yet the Morale fleet was mostly intact. Their weapons were offline, engines disabled, but no civilians had died. It was unprecedented. High Chancellor Vex's tentacles twitched nervously as he rose to address the chamber. "Representatives, this is not simply a military victory. The humans, this species we considered fledgling, have done what no other member has ever achieved. They have stopped a Morale assault, protected a colony, and neutralized an entire fleet with precision." The chamber erupted in murmurs. Some delegates laughed nervously, unable to comprehend it. Others whispered of conspiracy, wondering if the humans had hidden allies or secret technology. Representative Julia Anderson of Earth stood calmly, her voice cutting through the rising chaos. "Chancellor, the humans acted with discipline, strategy, and, most importantly, mercy. Their intervention was not an act of war, but of protection." A Folian delegate hissed, leaning toward a neighboring species. "Protection? Or deception? How long have they been hiding this power? How much do they actually control?" Admiral Tan shook his gray-scaled head. "I've seen fleets annihilated in my lifetime. But humans do not fight like any other species. They strike where it matters, avoid unnecessary loss, and act faster than any sensor can detect. If these are their true capabilities..." He let the words hang, unsaid. Across the conquered, news channels relayed live feeds from Epsilon Prime. Human ships hovered over the colony, coordinating medical aid, food distribution, and infrastructure repair. Ground teams worked tirelessly, stabilizing damaged power grids and setting up temporary shelters. The colonists watched in awe as humans moved with precision and purpose. In the Morale Empire, panic spread. Admiral Gorell's flagship, once the symbol of morale power, floated silently with disabled weapons and engines. Officers whispered in disbelief. They are humans? This cannot be. Gorell paced his bridge, scales rattling with fear and fury. How can a species that barely achieved interstellar travel possess such power? We have fought thousands of species. None have moved like this. Commander Vrex, his second in command, shook his head. Sir, they are not just strong. They are different, faster, smarter, and coordinated. Their weapons strike with intent. They don't kill unnecessarily. Impossible, Gorell hissed. No species fights like that. We will recover. We must. But even as he spoke, his fleet's engines hummed weakly, unable to respond effectively. Morale Pride had never tasted defeat like this. Back at the Galactic Concord, debates raged. Some species demanded an immediate inquiry into human capabilities. Others urged caution, fearing that humans' power could upset the balance of the Concord. High Chancellor Vex called for silence. Enough. Humanity has acted within the Concord protocols. They have saved a member colony from complete annihilation. This council must now decide how we proceed with our newest member species, one whose true capabilities we clearly underestimated. Anderson stepped forward. Chancellor Representatives, Earth joined the Concord as a peaceful member. Yes, our military capabilities are advanced, but our purpose has always been defense, protection, and diplomacy. We have hidden nothing to deceive, but rather to prevent preemptive fear. Today, that trust was tested, and humanity responded without aggression. A representative from the Tone Federation growled, "This is reckless. We cannot trust a species that conceals its strength. They could turn on us at any time." Anderson's gaze was steady. And yet, when tested, humanity saved a conquered colony without hesitation. We do not conquer, we protect. In orbit above Epsilon Prime, human officers coordinated with the Concord's rapid response fleet as it finally arrived. Admiral Tan's ship docked near the human vessels, and he stepped onto a human command ship for the first time. Captain Brooks greeted him calmly. "Admiral, welcome aboard. We're assisting in evacuation and medical relief. All Morale survivors will be treated and returned. The colony is stable." Tan's jaw tightened. He studied the crew. Humans, working together with smooth efficiency, no wasted motion, every action calculated. Your fleet, your intervention, it is beyond anything the Concord anticipated. How long have you been capable of this? Brooks allowed himself a faint smile. Humanity has always been capable. We chose to reveal ourselves only when the lives of others demanded it. Today, we acted. Tomorrow, we will continue to prepare. Not for conquest, but to prevent the need for it. On the colony below, Novan colonists began to rebuild, aided by humans who moved swiftly and purposefully. Fires were extinguished, water, purification restored, and medical teams treated the wounded. The humans had arrived not as conquerors, but as guardians. And far across the galaxy, the echoes of the human response spread fear. Species who had mocked Earth's fledgling fleets now whispered in alarm. A species once thought weak had revealed power unmatched in the Concord. Humanity was no longer a new member. It was a force every species would remember. The council chamber remained tense. Chancellor Vex's voice cut through the whispers. Humanity has changed the balance of the galaxy. We must proceed carefully. Let this council observe, learn, and understand, but never underestimate Earth again. And somewhere in orbit above Epsilon Prime, Captain Brooks looked out at the stars, knowing that the galaxy had witnessed only the beginning. Humanity's intervention had shocked the galaxy, but their true potential, their full purpose, was yet to be revealed. The stars had heard the distress call. Humanity had answered. And now the galaxy would never be the same. The council chamber of the Galactic Concord buzzed like a starstorm. Every species had gathered to witness, discuss, and fear what humans had just demonstrated. Giant holoscreens displayed footage from Epsilon Prime. Human ships hovering over the colony, repairing structures, providing aid, and interacting with Morale survivors. Every delegate watched in silence, some in awe, some in terror. High Chancellor Vex rose, his voice cutting through the murmurs. Representatives, we face a reality none of us expected. Humanity has proven not only capable of defending itself, but also of overwhelming entire fleets without unnecessary destruction. From the back of the chamber, a Varkian diplomat hissed. This cannot continue. A species with such power, unchecked, cannot remain a member without strict regulation. A Toan representative snapped, his mandibles clicking. Unchecked. They concealed their abilities for decades. How do we know they are not planning to dominate the conquered in silence? Earth's representative, Julia Anderson, stepped forward. Her calm presence seemed to fill the room. For decades, humanity focused on development, exploration, and defense. Our military was never meant for conquest, but to protect ourselves and others when threatened. Today, our actions were defensive, measured, precise, and merciful. We do not strike without cause. Murmurs erupted, but some delegates, especially younger species or those who had witnessed human coordination firsthand, nodded. They could see the difference. Humanity's precision, its speed, and its ethical code of war were unmatched. A Folian counselor leaned forward, voice trembling with disbelief. They saved a Morale colony, and did so without mass casualties. Their tactics, our fleets would never survive such efficiency. Julia's gaze swept across the chamber. We acted because lives were at stake. If the Concorde had been slower, thousands would have died. Humanity responded when others hesitated. That is our principle. Intervene when necessary. Protect life when possible. High Chancellor Vex held up his claws for silence. Humanity has shown the galaxy that strength and mercy can coexist. But many representatives fear what they cannot control. Some suggest restrictions, limits on fleet size, movement, or technology disclosure. Others, his eyes swept the chamber. Others propose observation, careful diplomacy, and building trust, not fear. The chamber split instantly. The Varkians, Tones, and several Morale delegates demanded immediate oversight of human fleets and military assets. We cannot risk another display of power like Epsilon Prime, they warned. The Syrian delegation shook their tall heads. If the Concorde tries to limit a species that protects others, what message does that send? Fear, distrust, chaos. Humanity must be treated with respect, not suspicion. Amid the debate, a holofeed from the Morale Empire appeared. Admiral Gorell, visibly shaken, addressed the Concorde. His ship remained crippled, his fleet humiliated. Humans, they fight unlike anything we have seen. They act with precision, speed, and conscience. I do not understand them. We do not know what limits they possess, nor how far they can reach. A low hum ran through the chamber. The Morale admission only reinforced the fear among the other delegates. The species who had once considered humans weak now realized they had underestimated a force unlike any other in the galaxy. Representative Anderson remained calm. We are not seeking conquest or dominance, but understand this. The galaxy is not as simple as it once seemed. Humanity will act to protect life, defend peace, and respond to threats. Those who attempt aggression will face consequences, but those who seek diplomacy, cooperation, and friendship will find allies in us. Vex nodded, sensing the tension. The conquered faces a choice: trust humanity and integrate them fully, or attempt control and risk alienation. The actions at Epsilon Prime are not isolated. They are a statement of capability, principle, and potential. Whispers rippled among the delegates. Some species, wary yet impressed, began quietly discussing treaties, joint exercises, and observation programs. Others were clearly plotting ways to contain or spy on Earth's fleets. The room was alive, with intrigue, tension, and the unspoken understanding. Humanity had changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Far above Epsilon Prime, Human officers observed the Concord debates via secure feed. Captain Brooks turned to his staff. The council is reacting as expected. Fear, awe, and confusion. Let them talk. Our job is not to fight the council, but to protect life and maintain stability. The galaxy will understand our role in time. Lieutenant Kara tilted her head. Do you think they'll try to challenge us next? Brooks shook his head. Not openly. They will watch, test, and speculate. Humanity has made its mark. Some will fear us, some will respect us, but none will ignore us again. That is enough for now. Below, the colony of Epsilon Prime was calm. Children played in the streets, rebuilt homes stood tall, and the survivors were alive, thanks to humanity. This was not just a victory of strength, but of principle. Humanity's choice to act with mercy, efficiency, and courage had echoed across the stars. In the distant reaches of the galaxy, species who had mocked Earth now whispered cautiously. A force had emerged, one that could not be predicted, controlled, or ignored. Humanity had answered the distress call. And the galaxy was beginning to understand that Earth was no ordinary planet, and humans were no ordinary species. The council would meet again, debates would rage, and plots would form. But one truth was undeniable. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a species unlike any other. The stars were no longer quiet. Humanity's presence had been felt, and the echoes would shape every decision, every alliance, and every confrontation from this day onward. The Concord had adjourned, but the tension in the galaxy did not fade. Humanity's actions at Epsilon Prime had left a mark deeper than anyone had expected. Whispers of fear, admiration, and doubt spread like starlight. Behind closed doors, some species were already plotting their next moves. In the shadowed corridors of the Varkian Council, Ambassador Krull paced slowly. His claws clicked against the metal floor. They have shown strength, yes, but strength without oversight is dangerous. If we do not test them, the galaxy will pay the price. Across the chamber, General Torek hissed, his voice low. We must provoke a situation, a controlled one. Something small. Let them show their limits. If they fail, we can manipulate the Concord to restrict them. If they succeed, we learn what we face. Krull nodded, a sinister gleam in his eyes. Send a distress signal from one of our colonies. A minor attack, just enough to draw their attention. Humanity cannot resist calls for help. That is their principle, their weakness and their strength. Meanwhile, in orbit above Earth, Captain Brooks reviewed communications reports. Several Concord species have been unusually active near the human-protected zones. Unscheduled maneuvers, false distress signals, probes. Someone is testing us. Lieutenant Kara frowned. Are we expected to ignore them? They're technically not in danger yet. Brooks shook his head. We respond to distress. That is the rule. If we ignore it, we lose credibility. If we act, we show strength. Either way, the galaxy learned something about humanity. Far in the outer systems, a false distress signal flashed across the interstellar network. A small colony on Zephyr Prime reported an alien raid destroying vital supplies. The message was urgent, convincing, enough to draw human forces. Captain Brooks called the fleet to action. Prepare for deployment. This is a test, real or not. Our duty is to respond to life at risk. The fleet leapt through hyperspace, arriving at Zephyr Prime to find the colony largely untouched. The aliens responsible were Varkian operatives, cloaked and hidden, testing human detection and response. Sensors show no casualties, Kara reported, but their craft are unusual. We haven't seen these signatures before. Brooks's jaw tightened. We will secure the colony and confront these intruders. If this is a test, we will set the standard. Humanity does not falter when lives are threatened. On the colony's surface, human ships landed quietly, deploying teams to check for survivors. Within minutes, human units located the cloaked Varkian drones attempting sabotage. Their invisibility was no match for human scanners and tactical intuition. The drones were neutralized, captured, and scanned. Brooks observed the feed. Every test has limits. The moment you underestimate human strategy, you fail. They always notice. They always adapt. Back on Varkian homeworlds, Ambassador Krull watched remotely, his antennae twitching in frustration. Impossible. How did they detect them? These were stealth-class drones. General Torak slammed a claw against the console. Human intuition, coordination. Their response was unnatural. We must rethink our plan. They are not just a species, they are a force of nature. Meanwhile, the conquered council received reports of human action at Zyphar Prime. The chamber filled with murmurs. Some delegates were relieved. The humans had saved lives without aggression. Others were fearful. Human detection and speed had surpassed expectations. Julia Anderson addressed the Concorde from Earth's orbital station. We responded to a distress signal as we always do. No lives were lost, no unnecessary destruction occurred. Humanity's duty is clear. Protect those in need. We have no interest in conflict, but we will act decisively when action is required. The council fell silent. Every species understood one undeniable truth. Humans did not just react, they excelled. They observed, adapted, and acted with precision that no other species had displayed. Captain Brooks debriefed his team. They are testing us. That much is certain. And they will try again, let them. Every test they send only strengthens our fleet and our strategy. We respond not because we must, but because we can, and because it is the right thing to do. Kara smiled grimly, and they will continue to be surprised. In the far reaches of the galaxy, species who had once seen Earth as weak now whispered in fear. One thing was becoming clear. No test, no trap, and no deception could catch humanity unprepared. They were no ordinary species. They did not merely survive. They mastered every challenge, every threat, every trial the galaxy dared to throw. As the stars twinkled above Zyphar Prime, Captain Brooks gazed at the cosmos. The galaxy was vast, full of secrets and dangers. But humanity's response had already sent a message. We act when others cannot. We protect when others hesitate. And we endure when others fail. The first test had come, and humanity had passed with clarity, power, and an unshakable moral code. But the galaxy was far from done. The whispers, the plots, and the fear were only growing, and Earth, the quiet planet of humans, had only just begun to reveal its strength. The galaxy was not quiet for long. News of humanity's intervention at Zyphar Prime had traveled faster than any fleet could move. Across star systems, whispers turned into murmurs and murmurs into panic. Every species wondered, what are humans capable of? In the outer rim, hidden in the shadow of a dead star, a secret council convened. Species that had once dismissed humanity now plotted in fear. Admiral Soren of the Tarlock fleet slammed his clawed hand on the table. They act faster than any scout can report. They neutralized our drones before we even knew we had deployed them. Ambassador Zarel, representing the Cathari Syndicate, hissed sharply. We cannot allow this. If humans continue to show strength, the balance of the Concorde will collapse. We need to test them again. But bigger this time. A holographic map floated above the table showing the human colonies and their fleet positions. We will create a coordinated attack, Zarel continued. Multiple systems, simultaneous threats. Let's see if their reach is as fast as their skill. If they fail, we take control. If they succeed, we learn the true scale of their power. Back on Earth, Captain Alan Brooks and his command crew were unaware of the new plans forming in the shadows. Sensors picking up unusual energy surges near the Orin system, Lieutenant Sharon Jones reported. Potential for an incoming attack or false distress signal. Brooks studied the data. Another test, perhaps. Prepare the fleet for deployment, but keep it cautious. Remember, they want to measure us, not destroy the colonies. Yet. In hyperspace, the human fleet moved with precision, faster than any conventional Concorde patrol. Teams on the ground prepared defensive positions in Orin's key settlements. Medical units, engineers, and tactical squads coordinated in silence, trained for efficiency and rapid response. The first wave arrived, small strike ships cloaked, trying to bypass human detection. Their sensors failed. Human early warning systems had already flagged them, predicting entry points and potential attack patterns. Within minutes, human drones intercepted the cloaked ships, disabling them without destruction. On the flagship, Brooks's voice was calm. Scan for life forms. Ensure no civilian casualties. Take control, but keep it measured. We do not destroy what we do not need to. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Shadow Council watched in disbelief. How? They predicted our every move before we acted, Soren growled. They're faster, smarter, more coordinated than anything we have encountered. The human fleet continued toward Orin's main colony. Just as they arrived, a second wave struck. Larger ships, fully armed, attempting a direct assault. But the humans did not panic. Instead, they moved with incredible coordination. Shields activated, weapons deployed in precise defensive patterns, and countermeasures neutralized every attack with minimal effort. On the ground, human squads established triage centers, evacuation zones, and defensive perimeters. They moved with mechanical precision, yet every action showed judgment and mercy. Captured enemies were disarmed and restrained, civilians protected. No one in the galaxy had ever seen such discipline under fire. Captain Brooks addressed the fleet over all channels. Engage but do not destroy unless necessary. Civilian protection is our priority. Remember, we act as humans always act, with strategy, skill, and integrity. As the battle unfolded one by one, enemy ships were disabled, not destroyed. Engines frozen, weapon systems offline, communications cut, but hulls intact. It was deliberate. Humans fought to neutralize, not annihilate. From the shadows, Zirel whispered, "Impossible. They do not fight like any other species. They are different." Admiral Soren's claws tightened around his console. "We underestimated them. Every move we make, they anticipate. Every plan we set, they adapt. This is not just skill, it's instinct, strategy, and something beyond technology. We are outmatched." On Orin, human engineers repaired the colony's energy grid while medical teams treated the wounded. Lieutenant Patrick White led squads to ensure civilians had shelter and food, moving with quiet authority. "Check the perimeter. Keep the evac routes clear. No one left behind," he instructed. The attack ended within hours. Enemy fleets disabled, no colony casualties, humans standing ready but not aggressive. Across the galaxy, news spread quickly. Another test, another failure for those who sought to challenge humanity. Captain Brooks addressed his officers. "This is only the beginning. They will continue to test us, push boundaries, and provoke us. But remember, we respond to need, not aggression. Our strength is not just in our weapons or ships, it is in how we act. We protect, we endure. We prevail without losing who we are." Far away in the council chambers of the shadow species, disbelief turned to fear. One conclusion became unavoidable. Humans were no ordinary species. They were not just new members of the conquered. They were a force the galaxy had never faced. Whispers filled every council chamber, every fleet command, every planet that had once doubted Earth. The humans are coming. And we are not ready. Above Orin, Captain Brooks looked at the stars, calm yet vigilant. Humanity's message was clear. We act with purpose, respond with precision, and protect without hesitation. Any who doubt us will learn quickly, and those who challenge us will regret it. The galaxy had seen the first signs of human power, and it would never look at Earth the same way again. The galaxy held its breath. Word of humanity's actions on Orin had spread like wildfire. Every council, every fleet, every species was watching, waiting, fearing what they could not yet understand. On the edge of the Koran Nebula, a fleet of over 50 ships of species that had plotted to test humanity gathered in secret. Admiral Soren of the Tarlock fleet stood on the bridge of the Iron Fang, his eyes fixed on the holographic projection of human colonies. "We cannot allow them to continue unchecked," he growled. "If humans are this fast, this precise, this careful, we will lose everything if we wait." Commander Zirel from the Cathari Syndicate nodded. "Our coordinated strike will show them who rules the galaxy. They will pay the price for interfering in our systems." Deep in space, Captain Alan Brooks and the United Earth Fleet approached the Koran Nebula. He knew something was coming. Humans had trained for decades for these moments. But intelligence suggested this was more than a raid. It was an attempted test of human resolve, strength and morality. Shields at full, weapons online, Lieutenant Sharon Jones reported. Sensors picking up multiple fleet signatures, unknown formations, and multiple cloaked vessels. Brooks's calm voice carried authority. "Prepare for engagement. But remember, we do not destroy unless necessary. Disable, neutralize, protect. Civilian casualties are unacceptable." The first enemy wave dropped out of hyperspace, a fleet of enormous warships, hundreds of fighters, and advanced drone swarms. They moved to encircle the human vessels. "They want to trap us," Brooks said quietly. "They think they have us surrounded." Yet the humans were ready. Within seconds, small strike teams deployed from their capital ships, moving in formations that seemed impossible to track. Their vessels twisted and turned at impossible angles, anticipating enemy fire before it was even launched. Energy beams missed. Missiles detonated harmlessly in empty space, and enemy fighters found their engines frozen without warning. On the ground, in the colonies, humans were already deploying tactical teams, medical squads, and engineers. They moved with precision, reinforcing settlements and establishing field hospitals. Humans rescued trapped civilians, repaired infrastructure, and neutralized enemy units with minimal force. Each action displayed the same principle Brooks had taught: power used for protection, not aggression. In the Corin Nebula, Admiral Soren's clawed hands shook. Impossible. They predict everything. Every move we make, every formation we set, they counter it before we even act. Commander Zarel's tentacles trembled. What are they? How did a species so new to the conquered achieve this level of mastery? Meanwhile, Captain Brooks addressed the entire fleet. They will test us. They will push boundaries. They will come with strength. But remember, humanity is not a conqueror. We are protectors. Our power is not for fear. It is for justice, for defense, and for life itself. Let's show them the truth of humanity. Then the humans struck. With surgical precision, their ships disabled the enemy fleet one by one. Engines, weapons, communication systems, all were neutralized without destruction. Enemy warships floated in space, alive but helpless, a silent testament to human control and restraint. Small squads on each vessel deployed boarding teams to ensure no lives were lost unnecessarily. Across the galaxy, messages poured in. Humans are unstoppable. They are beyond our calculations. They fight differently, with strategy, precision, and purpose unlike any other species. Even Admiral Soren's fleet, having once believed themselves superior, now surrendered quietly. Human boarding teams ensured their wounded were treated, their ships repaired for safe return, and their weapons temporarily disabled. Captain Brooks had shown the galaxy humans could win without cruelty, defeat without vengeance. In the Galactic Concord Council, representatives watched the long-range sensor footage in stunned silence. Chancellor Vex, normally commanding and severe, could only whisper, "They are not what we expected. They are humans." Representative Julia Anderson, Earth's delegate, stood quietly observing the room. A small, confident smile crossed her face. Humanity had acted exactly as they always had. Efficient, strategic, powerful, yet humane. They had shown the galaxy a lesson. Power without ethics was meaningless. Restraint was true strength. Weeks later, the surviving fleets returned home bearing tales of human precision and mercy. Across the colonies, humans rebuilt infrastructure, treated the wounded, and stabilized societies. Director Lara Carson, observing the recovery on multiple worlds, felt hope she had never thought possible. Humanity had arrived not as conquerors, not as threats, but as protectors of life itself. On the flagship United Defender, Captain Brooks looked at the stars. He knew this was only the beginning. Humans had revealed their power, but more importantly, they had revealed their purpose. Humanity was not just a new species in the galaxy. They were a force that could not be underestimated. A species that acted with both intelligence and morality. A species that would shape the fate of countless worlds. And in the shadows, species that had once plotted against Earth reconsidered everything. Every calculation, every assumption about human weakness had been wrong. The galaxy now faced a new reality. Humans were here, and their arrival had shattered old rules, old fears, and old power structures. The final message from Captain Brooks to the galaxy was simple. We protect life. We do not seek war. But if challenged, we will respond. And when we do, the galaxy will see what humanity is capable of. The stars themselves seemed to shimmer with a new warning. The age of humans had truly begun.